Tonight, more than 500,000 Americans have nowhere to sleep. Grandmothers resting in parked cars, veterans under highway bridges, families who did everything right until one hospital bill pulled the floor out from under them. But while politicians argue over budgets, carpenters, students, and retired volunteers picked up their tools and started building homes smaller than a garden shed that go up in a single afternoon. These are 20 tiny home inventions saving homeless lives right now. And number 16 was built by ordinary neighbors who gave up part of their own backyards to make it happen. A shelter bed keeps someone alive for one night. A small home with 4 walls and a door of their own does something a cot in a crowded hall never can. It gives a person privacy, safety, and a place to leave their belongings while they look for work. Study after study shows that once people have a stable roof, everything else becomes possible. So the inventors on this list stopped asking how to manage homelessness and started asking how to end it, one small home at a time. Number 1, Pallet shelters. In Everett, Washington, a woman named Amy King ran a construction company when she noticed something that bothered her deeply. Tents and tarps were spreading along the highways of her own state, and nobody had a fast answer. So her team designed a 64-square-foot cabin made from aluminum framing and insulated composite panels that a small crew can assemble in under an hour. Each unit has a real bed, shelving, a locking door, heat, and air conditioning. But the part that makes Pallet special is who builds them. The company deliberately hires people who have lived through homelessness, addiction, or prison, giving them stable jobs building the very shelters they once needed. Cities like Los Angeles and San Diego have now opened entire Pallet villages with hundreds of these cabins, complete with bathrooms, laundry, and caseworkers on site. Number 2, Conestoga huts. Down in Eugene, Oregon, a nonprofit called Community Supported Shelters looked at the price of housing and asked a simple question: what is the least expensive structure that still keeps a human being safe and dry? Their answer looks like something from a wagon train. The Conestoga hut has a curved roof stretched over a wooden frame, an insulated sleeping platform, and a solid door. Volunteers build one in a single day using mostly donated materials for a fraction of what a conventional shelter bed costs. Dozens of these huts now sit in small managed camps around Eugene, and for the people inside them, that curved roof is the first solid ceiling they have had in years. Number 3, the Ulmer nest. In the German city of Ulm, winter temperatures drop far below freezing, and a team of designers asked a question few people think to ask. Why do some homeless people still refuse to enter shelters? The answers were heartbreaking. Fear of theft, fear of violence, and above all, fear of losing a beloved dog at the door, because most shelters will not take animals. So they built a one-person sleeping pod from solid timber, warm enough for a person and their dog together, powered by rooftop solar panels, with a heat exchanger for fresh air. Motion sensors quietly alert outreach workers when someone is sleeping inside, without a single camera pointed at anyone. The first pods went onto the streets of Ulm in the winter of 2020, and city governments across Europe have been calling ever since. Number 4, church car park sleeping pods in Wales. In South Wales, a small company began building single-person pods about the size of a garden shed, each one fitted with a bed, a heater, and a light. Instead of waiting for the government to find land, churches in cities like Newport offered their own car parks. A crane lowers a pod into place one morning, and by that same evening, someone who was sleeping in a doorway has a warm private room just steps from a supportive congregation. The pods are checked daily by volunteers who also help residents find permanent housing. It is a beautiful picture of what happens when a community simply says, use what we already have. Number 5, the Icosi. In Worcester, England, a local charity took inspiration from an unusual place, the compact luxury of a first-class airline cabin. The result is the Icosi, a micro-home of just 186 square feet, where every single inch has a purpose. There is a real kitchen, a real bathroom, a bedroom area, and a living space, all cleverly zoned so it never feels like a box. The first Icosi was lifted by crane into a backyard in 2017 and given to a young man leaving homelessness. The design proved something important. Small does not have to mean grim. A tiny home can be genuinely lovely, and lovely matters when you are rebuilding your self-respect. Number 6, the micropad. San Francisco has some of the most expensive land in America, so one developer decided to build upward instead of outward. The micropad is a stackable steel studio apartment, about 160 square feet, built complete in a factory with a private bathroom, kitchenette, bed, and desk. A crane stacks the units like building blocks on small, unused lots, creating an apartment building in a fraction of the usual time and cost. Each pod is earthquake-rated and designed to last for decades. For a city where thousands sleep outside within sight of glass towers, factory-built apartments that stack overnight offer a way to catch up fast. Number 7, the Veterans Community Project. In Kansas City, Missouri, a group of combat veterans got tired of watching their brothers and sisters sleep outside, so they bought land and built a village themselves. The Veterans Community Project is a neighborhood of 49 tiny homes given free to homeless veterans, each one fully furnished down to the sheets on the bed and the food in the cupboard. On the same property sits an outreach center offering counseling, dental care, job help, and benefits navigation. Because it was built by veterans, nobody has to explain what they carry. The village has such a strong record of moving people into permanent housing that new chapters are opening in other American cities. And if you have a veteran in your family, a father, a brother, a grandson who came home different, you know how easily pride can keep a struggling soldier from asking for help. This village removes that barrier, because here, a home comes from a fellow veteran, and that changes everything. Number 8, 3D printed homes by Icon. Now we reach the invention that sounds like science fiction. In Austin, Texas, a company called Icon built a massive robotic printer named Vulcan that squeezes out a special cement mixture layer by layer, drawing the walls of an entire house in about 2 days. Human crews then add the roof, windows, and finishes. These printed homes stand at Community First Village, a remarkable neighborhood created by the nonprofit Mobile Loaves and Fishes for people leaving chronic homelessness. The village combines printed homes with hundreds of other units, gardens, a market, a chapel, and even an outdoor cinema. Residents pay affordable rent, live among friends, and for the first time in years, they can write something on a form other than a blank line where the address should be. Many spent decades on the streets of Austin, and neighbors who once walked past them now share meals with them at the village market. Remember this village, by the way. It inspired another one later on this list. Number 9, the Better Shelter. When the IKEA Foundation partnered with the United Nations Refugee Agency, the mission was to rethink the emergency tent. The result is the Better Shelter, a flat-pack hard-shell home that arrives in 2 cardboard boxes and assembles in about 4 hours with no tools beyond what comes in the package. It has rigid insulated panels, windows, and a rooftop solar panel that powers a light and charges a phone. Tens of thousands of these units now shelter displaced families around the world, and homeless service groups have taken notice, because a weatherproof room that ships flat and builds in an afternoon is exactly what overwhelmed cities need during winter emergencies. 4 hours is fast, but the next invention hardens into permanent walls in a single day. Number 10, concrete canvas shelters. This invention feels like a magic trick. Concrete canvas is a fabric with cement woven right into it. The shelter arrives soft as cloth, folded on the back of a truck. You inflate it with air like a bouncy castle, spray it down with water, and walk away. 1 day later, that fabric has turned to stone, a solid, fireproof shell that can stand for more than 10 years. No construction crew, no special skills, no heavy machinery. It was originally invented for military field hospitals, but aid organizations now deploy them in disaster zones across the world, and there is growing interest in using them as instant, durable rooms for homeless encampments that keep getting swept away. Number 11, Cass Community Tiny Homes in Detroit. This one might make you tear up. Reverend Faith Fowler runs Cass Community Social Services in Detroit, Michigan, and she noticed that even when homeless people found housing, they never built any wealth. They rented forever and owned nothing. So her organization built a neighborhood of 25 charming tiny homes, each between 250 and 400 square feet, each one styled differently with porches and peaked roofs. Residents pay a modest rent based on their income, and here is the twist that changes lives. After 7 years of steady payments and classes on finances and home care, the deed transfers to them. Formerly homeless men and women in Detroit are now legal homeowners with property to pass on to their children. One resident described standing on her own porch for the first time and realizing that nobody could ever tell her to move along again. Reverend Fowler calls it big dignity in small houses. Number 12. Dignity moves villages. Here is an idea so sensible you will wonder why nobody did it sooner. All over San Francisco and other California cities sit vacant lots waiting years for permanent towers to be approved. The nonprofit Dignity Moves borrows that empty land and builds interim villages of private rooms in a matter of months. Every resident gets their own room with a real door, a window, a bed, and a desk, plus shared kitchens, bathrooms, and support staff on site. When the land is finally needed, the modular buildings move to the next empty lot. It turns wasted time into shelter, and it treats privacy as a basic human need rather than a luxury. Now, before the rest of this list, let me speak to you directly for a moment. If money is tight in your home right now, if you are one missed paycheck away from losing your place, or if someone you love is quietly sleeping in their car, I put together something called the Veterans Blueprint. It walks through assistance programs most people have never heard of, and steps you can take this week, even with $0 in your pocket. It was originally written for veterans, but it works for anyone in survival mode, and for anyone trying to pull a friend or family member back from the edge. The link is in the description below. Now, everything so far was built by companies, charities, and churches. These next few prove something else. Give people a safe community, and they will help run it themselves. Number 13, the Kenton Women's Village. Women experiencing homelessness face dangers most of us never have to think about, and crowded mixed shelters can feel terrifying. So in Portland, Oregon, local architecture firms each designed and donated a small sleeping pod. And together, they formed the Kenton Women's Village, a safe community just for women. Each pod is different, some with porches, some with skylights, all with locking doors, arranged around shared kitchens, showers, and gathering space. Caseworkers help residents move into permanent apartments, and the village has become a model copied in other neighborhoods. Sometimes the real invention is the safety. Number 14, Quixote Village. This village began as an act of protest. In Olympia, Washington, a camp of homeless residents kept getting pushed from lot to lot until churches began hosting them, and eventually the campers organized themselves into a formal community. The result is Quixote Village. 30 small cottages arranged around a garden and a common house with kitchens, showers, and laundry. What makes it special is who runs it. The residents themselves elect their leaders, write the rules, and interview newcomers. People who were once told they were a problem to be managed became the managers, and the village they govern has been thriving since 2013. Number 15, OM Village in Madison. In Madison, Wisconsin, an organization called Occupy Madison opened a workshop where future residents build their own tiny houses on wheels, side by side with retired carpenters and student volunteers. Nobody is handed a home here. Residents put in volunteer hours in the woodshop and the village store, sanding, painting, and learning real skills, and through that sweat equity, they earn their house. The finished homes are bright little cottages with flower boxes that neighbors actually stop to photograph. There is a quiet genius in this model because the person who spent months building a house with their own hands will fight to keep the life that comes with it. Number 16, the Block Project. And here is the one I promised you at the start. In Seattle, a nonprofit asked homeowners an almost unthinkable question. Would you give up part of your backyard so a homeless person could live there? Hundreds of families said yes, The block project builds a beautiful, fully permitted tiny home of about 125 square feet, complete with a kitchen, bathroom, solar panels, and rain collection, and places it in a volunteer family's backyard. The resident is not hidden away in a facility somewhere. They are welcomed onto a street, invited to summer barbecues, checked on when they are sick. Host families describe their new neighbor becoming a genuine friend, someone who waters the garden while they travel and waves to their grandchildren from the porch. Think about the courage on both sides of that fence. A family opening their private world to a stranger, and a person who has been invisible for years daring to be seen again. Homelessness ends 1 yard at a time, and loneliness ends right along with it. Number 17. Life Arc. In El Monte, California, a designer created modular building blocks that snap together almost like giant toy bricks to form homes, offices, and even entire villages. The panels are made from tough, recycled plastic composite. They assemble quickly on almost any surface. And remarkably, the same units can float, which means they work on rivers and flood zones where nobody else can build. The first Life Arc community in California opened its doors to people coming directly off the street, with supportive services built into the village. It is housing that refuses to be stopped by bad land, bad weather, or bad luck. Life Arc floats. This next one folds completely flat. Number 18. The Hex House. A group called Architects for Society looked at emergency shelters and asked why temporary housing has to feel temporary. Their answer is the Hex House, a hexagonal home that ships flat on a truck and assembles in days with simple tools. The six-sided shape is naturally strong. The insulated panels handle heat and cold, and 2 units can join together for larger families. It was designed with refugees and disaster survivors in mind, but the same qualities, fast assembly, low cost, and real durability make it a serious option for homeless housing on the edges of American cities. A home that arrives flat and stands for decades. Number 19. Eden Village. Remember Community First Village in Austin, the one with the 3D printed homes? A pastor named David Brown and his wife Linda visited it from Springfield, Missouri, and they could not stop thinking about it on the drive home. So they sold what they had, bought an old mobile home park, and built Eden Village, a neighborhood of small cottage homes reserved for the most vulnerable people in their city, the chronically homeless living with disabilities. Residents pay a modest monthly rent, live in a real house with a porch, and belong to a community with a motto that tells you everything: no one should sleep outside. More Eden Villages are already being built because one couple saw an idea in Texas and refused to leave it there. Number 20. Emerald Village. We end in Eugene, Oregon, where the nonprofit Square One Villages built something that completes the whole journey. Emerald Village is a community of 22 beautifully designed tiny homes, each created by a different local architect. Residents pay a small monthly amount, but unlike rent, part of that payment builds equity in a cooperative, which means the people living there are gradually becoming owners. Think about that arc for a moment. A person goes from a sidewalk to a shelter, to a locked door, to a key, to a stake in the very ground beneath their home. That is not charity anymore. That is a future. 20 inventions, and one thread running through all of them. Nobody on this list waited for permission. A construction company owner, a reverend in Detroit, combat veterans in Kansas City, a pastor and his wife in Missouri, and families in Seattle who simply opened their backyards. All of them looked at the same crisis the rest of the world scrolls past and decided to build something. If you or someone you care about is struggling right now, the Veterans Blueprint is waiting in the description below. It was written for people who need a way forward and do not know where to start. And hit subscribe, because every week I share real innovations changing lives that the mainstream media ignores. The next one is already on your screen.